Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sorting Hat Podcast, the show where everything and anything can and will be sorted. I, as always, am your host, Michael Belated, joined by my co-host, Reed.
Hey, Prudence! What's up, girl?
And we are joined by a guest who determines the topic of which we are going to be sorting into the various houses of Hogwarts. Today, we are joined by the musically gifted, the graphic designer, Derek Heath.
You punched it up. I like
You
it.
sound like Macho Man just then.
Ooh, I'm also a muscle man.
Yes. Derek Heath is a longtime friend, graphic designer. He's part of the band The Regal Peaches. Also, if ever you happen to have the chance to karaoke with him, he will provide amazing harmonies.
Oh my god, you were there.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Are you kidding me?
No, like the two, if
Let's
the
do
two
a
of
harmony
you...
right now. Let's do a, Michael, give us a bass note.
Great. So, no, I think the two of you going to town on karaoke would be a delight because Reed
Let's
and
go into town.
Derek are
Let's
great.
go
And
into
then
the town.
let's go to town.
Yeah. So the topic at hand, this is actually going to be a two-parter for you gents and ladies and folks in the interweb worlds, because we are going to be sorting all of the tracks on the Beatles' White Album. And
We can't afford the fucking music, so you're gonna have to listen to it separately.
yeah. Every now
We
and
don't got
again,
Beatles money.
every now and again, we will sample tracks on here, but in the
Can
case
you do
of the
like
Beatles,
a 5-second?
oh, in this
clip?
case, it would just be like,
One.
dear, and like
Yeah.
we're out.
Yeah.
And you're like, I think that was Dear Prudence, but like that might have been Rocky
Yeah,
Raccoon.
let's do it, Mike. Let's go to it. Ready?
Mistake.
Wow, that was great.
Why did you make me do this right
Yeah,
after we
yeah.
had the conversation?
Just sprinkle them in.
You're such a troll. Anyway, so yeah, we are going to be diving into that. It is also worth noting I am a Ravenclaw, Reed is a Hufflepuff, and Derek is a Gryffindor, which, Derek, you just took the test.
I disagree with the test. Because first of all, the test is like the questions aren't even phrased as like when you're like doing this, do you prefer that? It was like moon or stars?
Yeah.
Like that's not a question, that's just two things.
Reed and I did have the delight of watching you take the test. And
Yeah, it got very much.
It was infuriating.
You went full Larry David on the quiz.
Look, okay, so up until today, a test result that I reject, I've always thought that I'm halfway between Ravenclaw and Hufflepuff, and that I would just let the hat decide if I ever ended up in the situation.
And I agree with you on your self-assessment.
I feel like I am like pretty creative, and I was like studious in school, but not really like that bookish. And so there's like a miscellaneous quality to my personality that I feel like I would throw into
miscellaneous
Hufflepuff.
quality that we love about you, though.
Thanks, man. And Hufflepuffs are like kind of nice, but like arguably maybe it's to mask some sort of insecurity.
I have no idea what
Could
you're
be
talking about.
Hufflepuff.
Let's move on.
So we are going to be sorting the Beatles' White Album. And Derek, can you just give us a bit of a lead into perhaps what has drawn you to the Beatles and the White Album in general?
Yeah, the Beatles are pretty obscure, so you're gonna have to like spell out like what you like about them.
Right. One of the least known bands of the 60s, the Beatles. Growing up, my parents were both into the Beatles. Like it's like the earliest music I remember listening to, but not the White Album. My mom was into the early Beatles, and she was like vehemently against the late Beatles. She was like, they just started taking drugs.
She likes it when like they're holding hands.
Yeah, she loves to like clapping and singing about like just like kissing and romping around.
Do you think it was like connected, like because she's probably not to make any assumptions about your mother's age, but she's probably like an adolescent around the time that they came out, right?
She was in high school. She was a little older when she had me. So like, yeah, she graduated from high school in 1965.
Yeah.
And it's kind of seems
then she's
like
fucking right in the right.
Yeah, it
position
seems
to
like
be a
she
fan.
sort of crystallized what she thought was good about music right around the mid 60s, like right before everything went crazy.
Yeah.
So she is like definitely not into the White Album or like.
So she was not at Woodstock.
But the White Album
turning on her
in
brain in a new
some
way.
ways is like not a return to form, but like a bit more of like rubber banding back to what they had done, but then also being like, but we're still a little weird.
Yeah, what happened with the White Album was that they so they made Sgt. Pepper,
right,
which was like a massive shift in like culture. It was like it's hard to even think about it as an album. It's like thinking about like Star Wars as a movie that someone was just like writing out and everything. It seems like it's always been a part of like the fabric of culture.
Right.
And so Sgt. Pepper was this attempt to just like approach songwriting from a completely new perspective, like trying out different things. They were just like goofing around and experimenting in the studio and like essentially becoming a new band.
Yeah.
And then with the White Album, so they did Sgt. Pepper, and then they all went to and there's Magical Mystery Tour comes after Sgt. Pepper, but and it's even weirder, but it was just kind of like B-sides that didn't make it onto Sgt. Pepper. And then they all go to India. And like everyone went to India. It was like them and like Donovan went, and like all of these big like people from the Who, all of these big wigs of music in the 60s ended up in India to study with the Maharishi, who is like this just a guru over there. And they all it seemed like it was kind of like an in style thing to do, but I would imagine that like being in the middle of like screaming fans and just like being part of this huge cultural shift, they're like, we need to just get our heads right and let's go try this.
And also at the time, if I'm not mistaken, I do have a somewhat limited knowledge base of Beatles history, but around this time wasn't the band fracturing a little bit?
It started fracturing because of all of this. So what happened? They go to India, and like George and Paul. I'm trying to remember this correctly. I believe that George and Paul, all of them like it at first. They're all like, "Oh, this is great. We're like centering ourselves. We only have guitars," which is a big like influence on why the White Album sounds the way it does.
Yeah,
they wrote all of the songs for the White Album in India while they were on this retreat, and they would just like go to each other's rooms and kind of work out tunes. And but very quickly, like the Maharishi was a little bit of a controversial character because he, you know, like any sort of culty figurehead, he it was a little suspicious of what his motives were, because he was really, I mean, he's bringing all of these celebrities to his plate, a little like Scientology, you know, he's like trying to help people.
I never thought about it that way. I always like sort of like centered it around all of these celebrities going to like take advantage of like an Eastern culture.
Oh, that too.
And it probably was like symbiotic, but I'd never thought about the angle of a religion being like, oh, famous people want to be part of this. We can take advantage of this.
There was rumors that he was kind of like screwing around with some of the women. The Maharishi was, and it's like none of it's ever been proven.
I mean, just to join the retreat, wasn't it like he was like, oh yeah, you can do it for free, but I just get 5% of all earnings from all of your music deals? Yeah, right? Like
that was another aspect
that's a slick
of it.
business, man.
Yeah, he was shady.
What if that were the business practice? Like he was like, come to India.
Yeah.
I just want 5% of all proceeds and like merchandising rights.
No, I think that like actually was what it was. I think that actually ended up being the case.
Oh, yeah, you nerds, let us know if we're wrong. But yeah, like having like a big shift in your spirituality, or at least the way that you frame spirituality, must have, like, of course it's going to influence their music.
Well, and yeah, ideologies are going to shift, and then suddenly that messaging is now being broadcast to a much larger base.
Right.
But so that's interesting that you say so the band fracturing happened while in India rather, because
it started. There's a few reasons why it happened. So John very quickly was like, fuck this. I'm getting out of here. Like the Maharishi is like poison. This is no good. We got to get out of here. And I think that like George, I mean, till his death was still really into the Maharishi, but George actually like, he was the only one that kind of wasn't in it just for the fad. Like George actually like took on like all of these Indian teachings and like made him a part of his life and like tried to actually
hear it, like
live
it's
them
even
out.
more pronounced in his songwriting. Yeah,
especially as he got like a little older and his solo work matured, and he's he like actually got something out of it. But I mean, they all got a lot of songs out of it, but there were these real sort of pared down songs after this huge like explosion that was Sgt. Pepper, but still like with a spirit of experimentation. And then they go back to England and they start recording these, and immediately it's clear that they're all just sort of on different pages, which is compounded by the fact that John has started to hang out with Yoko.
Right.
Who came like seemingly out of nowhere into his life. And she was like really an eccentric person. He was still married to Cynthia Lennon.
Spoiler alert, John Lennon didn't treat women well.
No, not at all. Debatably, he treated Yoko well, but it was just such a mysterious relationship that we'll just never know.
Yeah.
But so up until then, the Beatles had like, they had just been like four buddies that would all like get together and hang out and like go to the studio and like have a great time and just knock this stuff out. And especially after Sgt. Pepper, which was like just them basically having a playground to play in together. Like all of a sudden, John sets up a bed for Yoko in the studio, and she's just kind of like in the corner, like watching the proceedings, and they're kind of trying to do stuff, and she'll be like, well, maybe you should, and
I can't imagine like one day walking in here to do a podcast and there's just a woman in Michael's bed, like giving me notes on how to podcast. And Michael's like, this is my process now.
Yeah. Coming over to the microphone every once in a while and just being like,
That was a solid Yoko impression.
Yeah, and you being like, you know what? I think it needed that. I think it needs that.
Is Yoko on any albums?
Oh yeah, she's on this.
She is?
There's a lot of, so there's a song on here called Bungalow Bill, and in the background there's some background singers, and the one that goes, that's her.
Wow, I did not know that.
Thanks for backing off the mic on that one.
I mean, you might need to EQ that. But there's a I mean, she's like, I don't want to completely knock Yoko because she was a legitimate artist in her own right.
Oh,
She's
yeah,
like a
for
cool
sure.
minimalist artist and like a really interesting person. But it did like her presence and John's choice to include her just naturally started to drive a wedge between all of them, and just creative differences in general. And John and Yoko were like really big into heroin at the time, and the rest of them were not. And so there was just like a lot of forces at work tearing them apart. Ringo quit the band for a while during and so the first two songs on the album, Ringo is not drumming. It's the rest of them like, we're like, okay, let's, we'll figure this out. And it's like these composite drum tracks that all of them kind of piece together.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I suppose that actually brings us into a great transition of let's start with back in the USSR.
Yeah.
That's what we lead in with. We hear a plane flying over us.
Now, okay, so this is 1968. We're well into the Cold War.
Yep.
Like in the thick of it. But also, like, just off the top of things, is this like a Beach Boys parody?
It sure is.
Oh my God.
There's like a bunch of things sort of being parodied in this, almost.
So also on the retreat was Mike Love, a.k.a. the asshole from the Beach Boys, like the one who was just like really mean to Brian all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess he and John and Paul were just, I don't know, they were just like goofing around singing Beach Boys tunes, or they were talking about the Beach Boys. Anyhow, Mike Love was basically, I guess the story goes like, hey, you guys should write like a Beach Boys song. This is a weird request.
Like, wait, okay. He said, like, you should write a song for us,
I don't know.
You should write it. You should probably be trying to get on shit that we're doing, dude.
No, the only thing that I've ever read about it, and I've never quite understood it, but I always see it written the same way, was that the backing vocals, the Beach Boys-y backing vocals, were added into the song at the request of Mike Love.
That's amazing.
It's a strange thing. I don't know. So. But it definitely was written like as a send-up of these songs that the Beach Boys were writing about, sort of like doing this like teen romanticizing of the beach or of California or everything. And they were like, what's like the most subversive thing that we can make like a fun teeny bopper song about?
You know who the Beach Boys or who reminds me of the Beach Boys in like their marketing style?
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily in terms of like craftsmanship or even quality of the music, but Katy Perry romanticizes adolescence in the same way that the Beach Boys did.
While not themselves being a teenager.
Yeah, they're all in their fucking 30s. She's in her 30s, and she's still like, you make me feel like a teenage dream. I'm only 15 years old.
She kind of like. Have you ever seen an interview with her?
Yeah, and I think she's eccentric in the same way a lot of the Beach Boys were too.
Yeah. I think she's kind of a forever teenager. And in some ways, like, I mean, Brian Wilson was like a forever child.
No, for sure. And like, and I can really see, like, in what I do know about the Beatles, that they seem to have a bunch of resentment towards some of their, like, frothier music, the stuff from their earlier career.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, especially John, and that comes up in this album a lot. Like, in interviews after the album was made, and even during the album being made, John and Paul, like, Paul is kind of like the sort of, like, schmaltzy, like soft and like nostalgic one as far as songwriting goes.
Yeah.
And John is like the biting sort of like fuck you, getting like subversive political one. And so there's like a quote for almost every one of the songs that Paul wrote at some point between then and when John died of like, yeah, that one fucking sucked. An awful song. I'm so mad that we put that on the album. Wait, how did we get there? I don't remember. Anyhow.
So because we were talking, because like basically like, yeah, this feels like a send up of music that they themselves like not literally, but like stuff that they had done earlier in their career.
Yeah.
It felt like a lot of projection to me.
Yeah.
So, it's such a wild song to be like, here's what you're getting out of the gate on this one.
To start it with like just a biting satire of like that's a really good point. It's almost like a statement out of the gates. Like, look, like all of that like goofy shit that we were making in the early 60s, we're done.
And it's not relevant anymore.
It's not real. It's not relevant.
What the fuck's happening in the world?
It's just like a middle finger to the past is what this song is.
But then sonically, it does have that sort of harder edge than Mystery Tour and...
It's true.
And like, it's going back to, well, it's less out there, just musically overall.
No, it's like, very tight, concise, the way that like record companies want pop songs to be.
Yeah, but you're right. It sounds like loud and it sounds aggressive. Right. And like, just like it sounds like four guys in a room playing the song.
Like, as somebody, this is speaking as someone who I don't pay as much attention to lyrics, which I know I should, but from like a purely like melody standpoint, you go, oh, this sounds like the Beatles. But then lyrically, it's a lot more just like, oh, there's an underpinning to this that I'm like not as aware of. But like all the subject matter is not the subject matter of early Beatles in any way. This it's all got like a sadness to it, or like these are the hard truths of life.
It's amazing to me that it was a hit. That this hit of like it's like a send up of surf songs filtered through like the like hardships of the Cold War.
Right. So
people were like, yeah, the Ukraine girls really knock me like
yeah. So back in the USSR, it's obviously like during the height of the Cold War.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting way it's a bold move to open your album on that.
I think I know exactly what this is if we were to sort it.
Right. What are you thinking?
I think it's a Slytherin.
Really?
I think it's a straight up Slytherin.
I was thinking Gryffindor.
Really?
Yes.
But I think the subversive aspect of it is a little more Slytheresque.
So you're thinking, based on that, it was them sticking it to a hand. Like they were very... no, you're right. You're right. It was a very conscious choice, obviously, to put this guy at the top.
Because... imagine how transgressive it would be. I'm trying to think of who's even the equivalent of the Beatles right now. Can you imagine if somebody like put out a song about like
North Korea
or Saudi Arabia right now? Like if Justin Bieber was like, Saudi Arabia, I love you, darling, so much. Like, what are you
Justin
talking
Bieber
about?
is actually like a perfect example of it, because they were like teen idols for a while, and now all of a sudden. I like your Saudi Arabia song, though.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think you're right that it's a bold move, but it is a very self-serving one. So then we change gears
big time
right into Dear Prudence.
So the deal with Dear Prudence, if I'm remembering correctly, and I could be wrong, but I think I'm not wrong.
Great.
Yeah. So, fact check it if you need. But there was this girl at the retreat. I don't know whether her name was Prudence or not. They tend to change the names and facts a lot when they write songs. But she just wouldn't. It's a very literal song. She wouldn't come out of her room. She just was like always in there and like wanting to meditate. And they sort of saw it as like maybe a cover up for just like some sort of social anxiety. They were like, she's using this like, oh, I'm praying, sorry, as a crutch.
I heard that this is about Mia Farrow's sister.
It could it could be
her. I heard like Mia Farrow's sister.
They could be one and the same.
Yeah. No, but I can imagine like being this like affluent white person and going out east and
like,
suddenly being completely overwhelmed.
There's
Number one,
of
being like,
I'm
in a completely different place than I've ever been. And then number two, I'm supposed to have this spiritual awakening and everyone else seems to be doing well. And maybe I'm not.
All of the media is there watching you have, like, you're going to a retreat to like get away from the world and to like have your own like private, personal, like spiritual experience. And everyone's there like, how's it going?
What a strangely like blindsiding experience that would be, especially if you were unaware, like, upon getting on that plane and landing to see all the things you were trying to escape were also there, but compounded on that, the culture was completely different.
Yeah. You're like on a reality show, essentially, at that point.
So like whatever for like, it feels like such an earnest song and it's like, it's so sweet.
Yeah. It's just them being like, come on, come on here, take it easy. Like, come out and have some fun. Like, enjoy life.
Like the vocals are a lot breathier, so like it's like so much like everything's fine. You can come out. It's gonna be fine.
So Hufflepuff.
I think Hufflepuff.
I would agree. Yeah,
they're just they're encouraging. The musically, it's very like kind of like it starts like, oh, is this gonna be a sad song? But it definitely becomes like a very like positive,
right?
And
it's got that nice build at the end.
The sun is up, the sky's blue, it's beautiful, and so are you.
Like you can't get any more nice than that. Like these are fundamental truths about the universe, and one of them is you're beautiful, girl.
Yeah, they're solid lyricists. Like you can not like the music of the Beatles, but I don't think you can not at least appreciate the lyricism,
especially in Octopus's Garden,
which
is a literal like we're supposed to take that one at face value.
That's what Ringo says. Is they like always would ask him like, what's it really about?
That's what that's one of the things I love about him.
If you want a song that encapsulates the Hufflepuff spirit, it's Octopus's Garden.
Wait, really quickly, side like. As an aside here, can we just quickly sort each Beatle into a house?
We tend not to do real people because he gets worried about getting sued. But
that's not really. All right,
that's
sure.
What I've been assuming the entire time.
No, I just think it's more fun to sort the abstract.
Oh,
I see.
I always was like, I think it would be hilarious if we had to go to court and one of them was like, "Did you purport that our client was a Slytherin?"
Paul McCartney, billionaire.
We all know Ringo's a Hufflepuff,
I'm not a
right?
Ravenclaw.
Yeah, Ringo's definitely a Hufflepuff.
No, we won't sort them if you don't want to.
No, we're sorting them now.
We don't have to.
No, Derek, we're sorting them.
All right, let's sort the Beatles.
Honestly, I think John's a Slytherin.
Definitely.
Unquestionable. And then, George is a Gryffindor, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can see. Well,
it's like
I think George might be a Ravenclaw because
he
kept to himself. He was very like intellectual. He was like the smart one.
Right, like he was spiritual, but I'd camp that with studious, and
he was like studying the text,
just interested in the knowledge side. But no, I also get where you're coming from at the same like. He strangely set his own ego aside, which also would put him in the Ravenclaw camp a little bit. But while still like contributing to the band, like in great ways. And then we have Paul.
I think that everyone would think Paul's a Gryffindor. Mm-hmm. I think Paul actually might be more of a Slytherin than people.
So we have two Slytherins.
I think John is like an overt Slytherin, but Paul is like a Slytherin masquerading as a Hufflepuff.
Oh,
yeah, I can see that. Like, he's clever enough to understand. Like, I just have to put up this kind of softer facade. Like, everyone's gonna want.
Also, isn't he vegan?
He is now.
Like, I'm sure that there are the occasional vegan Hufflepuffs, but it just doesn't feel right to me.
You're questioning all vegan motives.
No, but not necessarily. Like, and this is irrational. People, feel free to send me hate mail. It just doesn't. I'm like,
go off your gut. Really?
A vegan Hufflepuff. That sounds weird. But all right.
So Dear Prudence sorted. Back in the USSR sorted.
Yep.
Glass Onion.
Okay.
Oh, I love this one. It's so trollish.
This one is.
It's great.
So self-reflexive and spiteful.
It's great. This is so they I hope you don't mind me just like going off on these stories. I guess that's the whole point of the podcast.
Go for it.
So they found out that there were classes being taught in England about just like about
analyzing
their music.
Oh, that's amazing.
There were classes being taught at colleges that were all devoted to like analyzing the Beatles songs in a literary way. Everything. They were like, oh my God, this is the perfect opportunity to write a song that's just going to fucking confuse everyone, and people are going to try and pick it apart, and they're not going to understand it, and we're just going to be like, yep, you got it. That's it. And so they wrote this like really, completely wrong. That's I'm the Walrus.
Yeah.
Okay.
But this one is like same vein.
About the experience of doing that almost, and that it's like this one is like more actually addressing like people analyzing their lyrics.
Right.
Oh, the
Walrus was like trying to like throw people off. This is like
letting you in on that joke in a way.
Right. And like, but like straight up just being like, all right, you want answers? All right. The Walrus was Paul. Like it's like this very like straightforward. What are some of the lyrics over there?
The lyrics are, I told you about Strawberry Fields. Immediately,
immediately
a reference. You're like, oh, I know that. All right, what's going on? The place where nothing is real.
Yeah.
Just like, so oddly cycling back and just giving you that brief refresher of this is one of the sets of lyrics from Strawberry Fields. And then, well, here's another place you can go where everything flows. Looking through the bent back tulips to see how the other half live. Looking through a glass onion. Yeah,
so some of it's more I'm the Walrus bullshit. Of just like stuff that is meant to mean nothing.
Yeah, and then I told you about the walrus and me, man. You know we're as close as can be, man. Well, here's another clue for you all. The walrus, it was Paul.
That's my favorite.
Oh my God.
Because they were always so like ambiguous about their answers in interviews, and people were always asking them what does this really mean? Like, okay, yeah, all right. We want to know?
Yeah.
The walrus is Paul. Real interesting, right?
Well, and it's so funny because I've said it a few times, but like these lyrics are so stripped down, and they're just like, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Like, there's no... It's a time where they just ripped away all subtext, and we're just like, we're speaking directly on this. This is all it is.
Yeah. There's a MGMT song called Your Life is a Lie, and it starts with... The line that it starts with is, here's the deal, your life is a lie. It's like that kind of directness in songs is one of my favorite things.
No, because usually people are like, if I want this to be a universal message, I have to cloak it in metaphor.
Yeah. Right. It's also the same way that so many like love songs will be as vague as possible, but it always ends with "Girl, you're beautiful" because you happen to have legs and eyes and lips.
Yeah.
Like, things that I would say 99.999% of the population has. It's like, oh, wow, you're speaking about me. You love me.
No, like there's only a few different kinds of songs that are written. One's girl and or boy, you're so beautiful. Another one is I work hard. Mm-hmm. I work at a job. Like, because who can't relate to that?
Well, I also feel like, especially with music that's like meant to be a little more elevated, right? Like if you're a songwriter, And I've like felt this like pressure too. This is not from anyone in particular, but just from like thinking like, oh, this is what it means to write a song. There's this weird like notion that to make something that's like really art, you have to almost kind of like obscure your message and like cloak it in like a lyricism or like a wordplay or
it has to be it has to be clever. It has to be like you have to almost be like, oh, here's a magic trick. You didn't think that somebody could think of something as clever as these words to describe a feeling that you've definitely felt before. Right.
Yeah. And so it's always like refreshing to see or hear music where the person's not concerned with trying to make it sound like art. They're just like directly delivering a message, like getting straight to it.
They're speaking as truly as they can, and that means not sugarcoating anything.
Right. So this is jumping in and out of both extremes.
Right. Well, it's also, I mean, because the Beatles aren't like strangers to being direct, because I Want to Hold Your Hand is about as direct as you can be. Well, right. There can be some subtext to that, but like if you're taking it purely from a surface level, like that's still a message of compassion. It's not being like
cellophane flowers of yellow and green. Yeah,
right. Exactly. It is not that. It's also this is the first song on the album that doesn't have any chorus to it, which is
it just kind of ends at the end of the verse. The chorus is like ba 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 ba. And then we go back in.
Right, like we don't get a chorus, and that's like a theme of this album is
unconventional song structure.
Like we're gonna be getting to Honey Pie and which is
there's a lot of odds and ends.
Like there's no verse to Honey Pie.
Oh, you're talking about Wild Honey Pie.
Oh, Wild Honey Pie. Yeah. Sorry. Yes.
Is that what's next? I think it is.
Is it?
No, isn't Obladi?
Yeah, Obladi, Oblada is there.
So where are we sorting Glass Onion? Like, like it's probably Slytherin. Also, it's like Slytherin song, right?
It's very like smart. It's self-aware. It's extremely self-aware,
and it's also like being like, "Fuck you guys."
Yeah,
you're not even like.
Yeah, depending if you didn't know as much backstory, I could see it being sorted into Hufflepuff as more of a like playful thing.
But there's some venom in there.
Yeah, there's some spite.
It's confident, it's spiteful, it's Slytherin.
Because like it's very much taking advantage of the fact of like the person should have a working knowledge. So there's like an ego there of saying, we're fucking famous, and also you're all dumb.
That's true.
Yeah. Because it's acknowledging all these things that everybody who's within the fandom should inherently know, and if you don't, then this is like a minefield of fuckery.
Yeah,
because you just are like,
if you've never heard a Beatles song, it makes no sense.
Yeah, you would not get nearly half as much out of it.
That should be the introductory course for everyone. As like, all right, guys, welcome to Beatles 101.
Start with this.
We're listening to Glass Onion first. Ask some questions, and now we're gonna go back. Like that would be. If you were trying to structure that, like that would be the syllabus. Right. Just like work it backwards and then
just blow people's minds out of the gates.
That actually would be kind of cool because they then they put out what 3 or 4 more albums after this.
They put out 2 more after this.
Oh, only 2 more.
They didn't have a very long career.
It was so they recorded and released them in reverse order. After the White Album, as far as releases go, it went Abbey Road, Let It Be. But they recorded it after the White Album happened. They like signed on to a movie deal, and they had one movie that they had to make left in their contract, and they didn't want to make another. Like they all hated each other at that point, so they didn't want to just like romp through the fields and like pretend to be like teenage idols anymore.
Yeah.
So they were like, you know what? Well, we need to make another album, and we need to make a movie. So let's just knock them out at the same time, and we'll just film ourselves making an album. And so they had like cameras rolling at all times while they tried to make another album, and it was just like too much pressure, and it was awful, and they hated each other, and they made Let It Be, which is a good album, but it's like just them like trying their absolute hardest to like just find some gold in like a pile of shit.
Yeah.
And then they did that, and they just like felt awful about it. And there were like lawsuits happening and everything. And then they were like, you know what? Like, let's just get together. Let's make like one last great album. Mm-hmm. And they put together Abbey Road, which was like cobbled together, but still like a great soaring masterpiece. And it ends with a song called The End, which is like ends with like a message of like the message of the Beatles. And in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make. And they sing a great soaring harmony. And like, then, well, there's another track that happens after that, like a minute later. That's just like a goofy song about the Queen, which is perfect for the Beatles. Cause they're like the end. And then at the end, they're like, Her Majesty's a pretty nice girl, but like this strange little tune at the end. Anyhow, yeah. But they released Abbey Road first, and then Let It Be came like a lot later.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was just thinking that could be kind of interesting to start with the White Album, go backwards, and then like at the end of the class, you just do like the final 2 albums as like, like I think that because White Album for many is like tip of the top.
It became my number one recently.
Like it I think many go between that and Sgt. Pepper.
A lot of people go between that and Sgt. Pepper, and Abbey Road is another one that becomes people. That used to be my number one, and then I started because Paul is my favorite Beatle as far as like songwriting goes. I think he just writes like perfect pop songs every time. But and he's like a major creative force on Abbey Road. Their whole second half of that album is just like one long composition that was made by Paul. But White Album is just like chock full of gems. And I think as I get older, I more like appreciate and identify with like just John's perspective. I think it's a more I don't know, the more life you live, the more you kind of understand his qualms with things.
And speaking on life being lived, that kind of brings us to Oobla Dee Oobla Da, because life goes on.
Yeah. It's like that's the only Beatles song that has the word bra in it.
Yeah. It's Oobla Dee Oobla Da bra.
Life goes on, brah. I don't really know what it's about. I know very little about Oobla Dee Oobla Da. It just seems it's kind of like a goofy.
Oh, I can help with this one.
It's not really reggae.
It's a pastiche of like reggae and or ska, because apparently it was starting to become popular around this time in England. And this is it's purported that this is like Oobla Dee Oobla Da, Life Goes On, brah, is just straight up a catchphrase one of his friends had.
Oh, really?
Yeah. This conga player or like some musician, and like that was something that the dude said, and Paul McCartney just picked it up.
Yeah, I never knew.
Yeah, the way that like any musician is going to appropriate.
Yeah.
like just hip sayings and just like put them in.
Right. They're drawing from like cool experiences
and like just like I'll bring it back. Just like Katy Perry start trying to say swish, swish, bish and make that palatable.
Yeah.
It turned out sounding really dorky and nobody likes this song.
Yeah. So many, like this is, I think, the one that John hated the most. in the 80s. Oh, did I screenshot it? I was like reading some stuff this morning to make sure that I was remembering things correctly about the White Album. And yeah, here it is. So in his Playboy interview in 1980, oh no, never mind. Wrong one. That's about Happy Birthday. We'll get to that later.
Okay.
But anyhow, yeah, John did not like this. He thought it was goofy. But like at this point, it seemed like anything that was just fun or like good natured, John was like, it's a lie.
No, yeah, anything that didn't have a hard edge of like, you don't even get it.
Well, this was just
I mean, he was like on heroin.
This song is just a story about Desmond and Molly Jones, like, living their life, and we just are like, each verse, you get a little chapter of what happens, and then you move on.
Yeah.
Like, there's no, at least from what I can tell or see, there's nothing combative about it. There's no, like, grand truth outside of life goes on.
No.
It
like,
reminds me of, like, the Madness, is that what they're called? Like the Our House people?
Yeah. Wait,
where it's really
Madness, are they the ones that Who are the ones that like
they're really rigging
all the pictures that they're all leaning on each other?
He's kind of like making like what looked like a muscle man pose for you at home. So I'm not sure what that was, but I do know.
We'll pull up a picture later.
It's that one that goes, our house in the middle of our street. Yep. House. And like it's very much as like, this is our mom, this is
like
our
a little
dad,
sing-along.
we have a sister and our brother, and it's just like spelling out
simple pleasures of life.
Like just it's very much just like describing like people.
I think this is a Hufflepuff.
This is a Hufflepuff.
As hell. It like this song is one of the only songs that I think of that went on to become the title of a TV show. There's a TV show called Life Goes On, and it is remarkable for the fact that it was one of the first TV shows that featured a character with learning disabilities. I think the character had Down syndrome. I don't remember for sure, but he was mentally disabled, and like it like as much as possible realistically depicted that. And
how long ago was this?
This was in the 80s, I think, and it was either like late 70s or through the 80s. And yeah, they play Obla Di Obla Da as the theme song. And it's called Life Goes On.
I wonder how they got the rights to that.
Right, that was just what I was thinking.
God, it's got to be so expensive to get the rights to a Beatles song.
Maybe that was the thing that they were like, we're going all in on this track, and everyone's going to come because we got the Beatles opening our show.
They probably had, at that point, to, call Michael Jackson to get the
probably.
Rights?
That's such a nutty story.
It was like,
and I can totally imagine Michael Jackson being like, what's the show about? Oh, they can just have it.
Just for those of you unaware of what we're talking about, basically, there's a story that leads us into it of, I guess, Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson.
They made some music together.
They were doing their thing, and they were talking in between sets or afterwards or something. And
it's about like how to make money in the industry,
and Paul McCartney said like you should own the rights to other people's own the rights to music is the way to make money. And then Michael Jackson went ahead and bought the rights.
But he was like, that moment was like, oh, I'm gonna buy yours then.
Yeah,
Paul was like, oh, ha ha ha, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he told him at the moment.
And Paul McCartney was like, that's funny.
Yeah.
What? Oh, fuck.
But then it just happened. Like, how did that?
He just did it.
That's
because Paul didn't have he's not like the businessman,
right?
He just belonged to the record label at that point, I think, or something like that. I don't know how the industry works.
What an insanely wild thing to happen.
I'm gonna do it.
Rich people's lives are weird.
Yeah.
Someone could just be like, you know what? I love your life's work. I'm gonna own it.
Yeah.
So now we're at Wild Honey Pie, which is, like I said, this is another song with no chorus.
Yeah.
Or I guess maybe the whole thing is the chorus and no verse, because it is just saying the word honey pie.
Yeah. It's a Hufflepuff. There's no more discussion that needs to happen about Wild Honey Pie.
No. Yeah.
It's my least favorite Beatles song.
It's probably because it's underproduced. I heard it's one that had the least amount of work put into it.
It's not really a song.
It's not really. It's literally just bow 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 honey pie.
It sounds like they just got as high as they've ever been.
And you're waiting for something else, and then it just honey pie.
No, I heard a rumor that they almost took it out of the album, and then I think it was one of the wives, I think Harrison's wife was like, no, I think it's cute, keep it in. And they just did.
Well, all right.
Well, they were like, it's not that long.
At this point, yeah. I could very well see at this point in their careers it ending up on the album, and none of them knew that it ended up on the album.
Probably.
Them seeing it on the back cover, and whoa, did you let it on? I didn't let it on.
Then we dive into Bundalo Bill.
First of all, I thought they were saying Buffalo Bill at first, and I thought oh, is this where they got the name for Silence of the Lambs? I was like, wait, what is this? Because I'll be honest, my knowledge of Beatles, would this be called the B-side? Did they release it as a single?
I don't know. There is never a single.
I don't
it wasn't even a B-side, I don't think. I think it was just an album track.
Yeah. but like I just meant like B track or B-side as far as like just like the lesser known tracks.
Yeah.
I was like, what is this?
It's
I was like
an obscure one.
I was listening to it today in the car on the way over, and I was like, what is this song?
Yeah, it has one of my favorite like goofy Beatles lines in it, which is the refrain before the chorus happens every time they go, "All the children sing."
Yeah.
I believe the story of this song, another one from India, is that they like in India met some like big game hunter, but he was just like he had like his mom with him, and he was like this kind of strange, like weird mama's boy, like a really kind of a eccentric, like kind of creepy dude, but simultaneously he's like, what he's doing is like taking out lions and like going around doing this real macho stuff, but like he was such a like clear and perfect like metaphor of a man for this guy that was just like an impotent man, but that was compensating for it by like going around killing things that could kill him if he didn't have a gun.
No, and that seems like the kind of thing that would piss off John Lennon so much, to be like, oh, you have to prove your manhood by like killing beautiful creatures.
Yeah. Especially because I feel like that's probably like in actually kind of a John move.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Because that guy was constantly trying to prove his manhood in all sorts of different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
there
it
were a
bothered
lot of
him.
insecurities to that
I bet
John Lennon
anybody
character.
who was like John hated.
Yeah.
He seemed like that kind of personality.
100%. He'd see all the attributes in himself in that other person.
And I say that as someone who sometimes is that way. I'm
I think
that person's extra. You need to calm down.
I think we all have those moments where the things about us that drive us a little bit crazy are the things that we can see most heightened in another person.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. I mean, like, look, like, also, he keeps roasting this guy's like relationship with his mother. John had like a really rocky relationship with his mother, and but this is one that Yoko's in big time. The chorus, you can like hear her
sings in this
really loudly, singing the loudest in the chorus. Like,
can you do the impression one more time? Have you guys watched that clip of her doing like a solo performance in a museum or something? It's on YouTube. It's probably like the biggest one.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I know the one you're talking about.
Just screaming nonsense. She's brilliant. I stand for Yoko.
She's like aware of what she's doing.
People come for Yoko, but she was doing some fucking good work.
What she's doing. But there's definitely like so there's this thing that happened in the late 60s.
Sing. Oh god.
Like right after this, John put together this concert of like all his old rock and roll heroes in Toronto. So he brought together like Chuck Berry and Little Richard and Jerry Lee Lewis and all these things. And he had like an alternate Woodstock. It was just like a festival of all of his old rock heroes and kind of reinvigorated a lot of their careers. But in the second half of the show, he and his band, the newly formed Plastic Ono Band, were like playing old rock and roll tunes with Chuck Berry and with these his heroes on stage. But like John, in sort of the same way that he brought Yoko into the studio, and the Beatles were like, "What the hell?" He brought Yoko onto the stage during these songs, so they'd be playing like, I don't know, I'm probably getting this wrong, but like just imagine something like Johnny Be Good or something like an old rock and roll song,
right?
And then Yoko was like on stage, like under a sheet with a microphone under it, and it would just be like during the guitar solo, she'd just also be like, "Hey!" And you catch these little glimpses of like Chuck Berry just being like, like what?
Yeah, because like if the Beatles had trouble wrapping their mind around the message that Ono was trying to do with this sort of music, I can't imagine
like
Chuck Berry or Jerry Lee Lewis or whoever else was like in
these
that
like macho guys from like the early days of rock.
Yeah, but who also like very much like rock music had a very rigid definition to a lot of these early era
much
people.
Narrower, yeah,
and so like her like trying to like experiment with like what dissonance means, and like what like unappealing notes being hit would mean for the human condition.
She's like challenging what music is at that point,
right?
Like so many steps beyond.
Get this bitch off the stage.
Well, not only in terms of what music is, but like just experimentation with performance.
Oh, for sure.
Like, the whole form was something that she was like, what if I, like, she's in a sheet. She's not visible to the public in that moment, but she's still contributing to the overarching performance.
No, because Yoko's work has a real obsession with space and time. Like, if you read her book, she breaks the fourth wall a lot in a way that other people weren't doing with their works.
I've never read her book.
A lot of her art installations had to do with like people's relationships to celebrity, and like her pieces would let people touch her, or she would have people climbing a ladder up to the ceiling.
Yeah.
So she was very obsessed with like the self and your position in space and your position in your relationship to other people. So of course she's gonna be in a fucking sheet screeching and being like, this can be rock music now.
Yeah. Because I mean, maybe her, and this is just total assumption, but like maybe her perspective was like, look, like rock music is just this expression of raw energy, and this is my raw energy right now.
Right.
Yeah, and like also I'll admit something always makes me root for a woman that makes a lot of men angry.
Sure. Yeah.
Jumping back, sorry that I don't have a clear transition for this.
Oh,
There doesn't need to be, man. There's no clear transitions between any of the songs on this album.
Continuing story of Bungalow Bill, where do we land on this?
Boy. Well,
It was it's a lot more like people are in it than usual, right?
yeah, it seems like it's like a whole crew, and they're all doing weird voices. It's like, it's very clever. I mean, it's kind of biting in the same way that like, back in the USSR. I mean,
So I don't think it's a Ravenclaw because it's a
No.
lot messier.
yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily Hufflepuff.
not
Because
nice.
It might be a Gryffindor.
But
just
it's not. But it's really like not. Like, here's the thing. How do we deal with? Because like the point of Slytherin is not that it's like the assholes.
Yeah,
No.
it's not assholes.
But there's like zero asshole in Gryffindor, right? I hate to just put things that are subversive into Slytherin, but maybe that's the case.
No. So Gryffindor is like, we're going to do something bold, but also perhaps brash. Whereas, so like, they might be the demolition crew who blows down the necessary building, but they also manage to send some shrapnel into like the neighboring building.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely like Superman destroys the whole city, but he does get the monster.
Yeah. Bungalow Bill feels kind of like a rant, though.
No, it definitely does. And it's making fun of this dude and his relationship.
Oh, but we haven't even gotten to Rocky Raccoon.
I think
which is
any
really
song
making fun
that's
of a
written
dude.
by John is going to skew Slytherin because his perspective on life was very Slytherin.
It feels
so I'm saying
right.
this is Slytherin, dudes.
Yep.
I feel okay in that. Now we're getting to Well, My Guitar Gently Weeps.
Yep.
I love this song.
George.
And getting some Eric Clapton in there, too.
He plays the solo in it. Yeah, uncredited, but it's him.
Yeah.
This is like kind of one of George's breakout hits.
Mm-hmm.
He had like maybe one song per album up until then.
George's like big thing as far as like the fracturing goes was just like he wanted more opportunities to be contributing in major ways, right?
Yeah, because when he was in India, he was still like extremely prolific. He was writing just as much as John and as Paul.
Mm-hmm.
But then they, when it came time to cut the album, they were laying down a lot of his tracks. There was one song called Not Guilty, which was supposed to be on the White Album that they did like over 100 takes of, and they still in the end were like, we don't have to put it on there. So there's an album that he came out with called All Things Must Pass that happened like right as the end of the Beatles were happening, and it's a double album just like chock full of all of his ideas that like he was like constipated with while the Beatles were happening, all just like filtered into this masterpiece of an album. But a lot of those songs were supposed to be on the White Album or on Abbey Road or on any of these late Beatles albums. So While My Guitar Gently Weeps is one that made it. And it's not really about anything specific. It's kind of was like a songwriting exercise.
Yeah.
Of just whatever like was the. I think he opened a book and was like, I'm gonna use the first phrase that I see, and I'm gonna do like a little micro meditation on that and write a song about it. So it's not really like there's not much meaning to it as far as I know.
Well, I'll argue this. And this is just me being a real nerd about it, and probably one of the people that they make fun of for it. But
who are they?
The Beatles.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And not necessarily making fun of them, but Okay, so I think that exercises in random selection are only to make us stop thinking so much about what the content of something should be.
Okay.
I do a lot of improv, and so like we get random suggestions, but we immediately try to take those suggestions and find our personal connection immediately. Right. And I feel like for him to see Gently Weeps, he was like, what about Gently Weeps speaks to me? And that's what he's going to start writing the song about.
It's like the equivalent of like an icebreaker if you're meeting someone.
Absolutely.
And that it's a seemingly innocuous like spark.
Yeah.
But from that the aim is to like find something significant.
I think it all just drives down to human beings are obsessed with patterns and obsessed with recognition of something. It helps us like to get our bearings in any situation.
Yeah.
So I think he saw Gently Weeps and went, what about my life is gently weeping right now? And it was probably his career, his relationship with the Beatles. So saying my guitar gently weeps, like while he had to like ask the other Beatles to leave the studio and bring in Eric Clapton to record it correctly, like that all feels like so significant and more tied together than like him just being like, I was just like, I'll just say some gobbledygook and it, a song happened.
It's not really gobbledygook because if you look at it and you are operating in the confines of like the band is fracturing, like a line like with every mistake we must surely be learning is like a very sort of like, guys, we're like fucking up a lot, but like this should allow us to heal.
Yeah, it seems like he's kind of like in the corner just watching it happen and being like mourning the loss of like the relationship that was, but also acknowledging that like even though things are changing, like we can still find some sort of new path.
I love this song. Like it really like feels like trying to. It's like somebody saying like, our relationship's not working out. You got some fucking issues, and I don't know if I can like. I don't know if it's my place to help you fix those issues.
There are just some great lines in this.
Yeah, I love this song.
Like the other one that really stands out is, I don't know how nobody told you how to unfold your love.
Exactly.
Which is like, unfold your love is a really good phrase. Like,
no, and it like just like more plainly, like to me anyway, it just feels like nobody taught you how to love properly.
Right. And obviously, if you're unfolding your love, that means like it's folded within something. You're concealing it. You're protecting it.
Right. But it's an acknowledgement that like it's there. I know you got it.
And what a stone to throw, though. Even then, what a stone to throw at someone like John, who's always talking about love and obsessed with the simplicity of it. And for George to maybe say like, why do you talk so much about love? You don't know how to love, dude. You're not good at it.
Yeah. It's a pretty confrontational song for also being like
it's vulnerable though.
Yeah, it's like equal parts like at peace, but like check yourself, you fucker.
Now
I love this song.
This
is a Gryffindor song to me.
Yeah, there could be an argument for it to be a Hufflepuff just on the fact like it's trying to like be like calming in a sense.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like this is the kind of uncomfortable conversation a Hufflepuff would struggle through a lot more.
Perhaps.
Because he's not trying to be nice. He's like, you don't know how to unfold your love.
I'm with you on it being a Gryffindor.
I think it's our first Gryffindor.
Especially because it is such a like emotional outpouring. Up until this point in the album, Dear Prudence is nice, but it's not like, I think some of it also comes from its abstraction. That it allows us to be like, nope, there's a larger message here that is like emotive and open and inviting at the same time.
And it's George's first real like triumph. Mm-hmm. It's his first like real? It's his first like song that people that it's a legitimate. It's like his Yesterday or something. You know what I mean? The song that just becomes part of the fabric of culture.
Can I tell you, fellas? I'm not even necessarily like a huge Beatles fan, but just through circumstance, I've seen that Beatles love show in Las Vegas 3 times.
How was it? Was it good?
Dude, that show's amazing. It's over 10 years old at this point.
3 times, I would assume.
Do you see it 3 times in the same visit?
Oh no, not the same visit. It's just over the years because I love Las Vegas.
Specifically the buffets.
No, we're thinking about doing an episode where I sort the different buffets in Las Vegas because I know so much about them. But I just because whenever I go with people, they want to see a show. Beatles Love is like the most, I think, one of the most consistent shows.
Yeah,
and like,
and there's very few people who are going to be like, ugh.
Yeah, but my point is, having seen it 3 times, this song is the best number in the whole show. It's like, it made me cry the first time I saw it, like a little idiot, but it's just so beautiful and so pretty, and it just made
visually they like lock into the feeling of the song.
That whole show, they did a really great job because they actually were in collaboration with Harrison and
George Martin was really involved too before he died.
George Martin, George Martin, not Harrison. But everybody who was surviving from the Beatles estate was very much involved with the process, and they got to give like creative notes to make it more authentic. So while it has aged a little bit, just in terms of tech, it's still a solid show. And if you're in Las Vegas, go see it, baby.
I would absolutely see that.
Yeah.
I can't believe I haven't. I've never seen a show in Las Vegas. Las Vegas is one of those places where I feel like everything about it is like diametrically opposed to what I usually like. Mm-hmm. But like as a result, it like somehow comes full circle, and I enjoy it. And
it's like just so garbage that you enjoy it.
I only ever went when I was 16, like when my parents would be passing through on family road trips. That's the only experience I've ever had with Vegas. So like I turned 18, haven't gone to Vegas. I'm like almost
go and just
30.
kind of like wander around.
Yeah, and like I've also never seen a Cirque du Soleil show, and it's,
oh my god,
me neither.
I know,
dude. Okay, not all of them are going to be great, but I will say Love or Caw especially.
I've heard both of those are
Caw's
very good.
Great, like freaking like it is like it's like a war drama, and at one point the wall or the floor.
Don't tell us.
You're gonna
oh my god,
spoil the best part.
Spoil it. Read.
Oh my god, just go to Las Vegas, everybody. See Cirque du Soleil shows, eat at a buffet.
We should do a trip together.
If you're going to see Love, I'm going to come on this trip. I don't care if I'm invited or not.
I would totally be down. So now we're moving on to Happiness is a Warm Gun.
Ooh.
Which I feel is like so interesting that it follows right after My Guitar Gently Weeps. Like placement in this album is so interesting.
Yeah. It's to me it seems very clearly about John's penis. I think it's just like a sex song. But they've never acknowledged that. It's kind of like they've never. Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds is so clearly about LSD, but they're always like, "Oh no, it's not. No, it's about a drawing." Like, yeah, all right, come on. And I think this is another one of those where when one of the lines in the song is, "When I hold you in my arms and I feel my finger on your trigger." And then he's like, yeah, my happiness is a warm gun. It's I think about like his relationship with Yoko, but then there's also like some sort of political element in there maybe. And it's a real, like, it skips between three really, it's a very weirdly structured song. The meter is really wacky. I didn't realize it until I like had to learn it and play it live. And it was like, it took an entire day to figure that thing out. There's these three totally different parts. So its message is obscured in the structure, and also like lyrically, like might be a double entendre, might be not, but I think it is.
So here's the history of this song's title. Schultz had a comic anthology for Peanuts called "Happiness is a Warm Puppy," and then there's like just this gun magazine that translated and took that to "Happiness is a Warm Gun," and I guess Lennon saw it at some point and just thought it was amazing because he's like, wait, that's insane to say, because like if
it's like a killing machine.
If you feel satisfied about a warm gun, that means you just shot something or someone. Like, how much power and insanity and hubris is that to be like, I'm most happy when I just fucking shot something.
It's like a similar qualm to his thing that he's airing on Bungalow Bill.
Yeah.
Just like this like extreme aggression masking like extreme impotence.
Oh no. So I totally see that parallel to sexuality, because I'm sure that he was probably that way in his sexual conquests.
Right. Yeah. I think it might be like two parallel tracks. I think he probably, it seems like maybe he started with what you're talking about, but then was also like, oh yeah, but it also means
Yeah, so that obsession with power, and because it's one of Lennon's favorites, this is Slytherin, baby.
Oh, definitely.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Slith.
It's one where I'm like, we could be discussing this song a lot more, but at the same time, we all know that it's Slytherin, and also we have a lot more songs to get through.
Yeah.
In just sides 1 and 2 of this album.
Has every John song been a Slytherin so far?
So far, I think
he's real slithed up on this album in a big way.
Yeah,
this is like him.
At least on this record, I would argue like different things for different parts of his career, but on this one, he's in a real. The bad blood was like really coming through in the album.
He's on a bit of a tear.
He's in a right state.
Mm-hmm. So now we've got Martha, My Dear.
Yep. So different than Happiness is a Warm Gun.
Is this this is side 2, right? We're going into side 2?
Is it?
Maybe.
That was just side 1?
Yeah. That was Happiness is a Warm Gun is track 8 if we're looking from like CDs.
Oh my god.
I'm doing conversions because I'm looking at
I'm so sorry I picked such a long album.
Hey, it's totally fine. The first 2 sides are 17 tracks total. So now we're on to Martha, My Dear.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. This is Paul through and through.
Mm-hmm.
It's about, let's see. I don't know that I ever known what this is about, but Reed, I think you've sort of researched each of these songs.
All I know about this song is that he got the name Martha from his dog.
Yeah.
That's all I need to know.
It's another one of these, almost like Dear Prudence, where it just seems sort of like encouraging someone to enjoy life.
No, and this is like definitely like what you said, like him wanting to be a Hufflepuff but not being a Hufflepuff. But this song is pretty Hufflepuff.
I love this song. It's like such a precisely played little piano tune.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a jaunty groove to it.
Jaunty.
Yeah, very jaunty, very Paul. Very encouraging.
It feels like a walk in the park.
Yeah,
Like
when you find yourself in the thick of it, take a look at a little of what is all around you. It's a Hufflepuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's another Hufflepuff, very along the lines of Dear Prudence, but like even more jaunty.
And then I'm so tired.
We're like at this point in the record, like John way over this way, Paul way over this way. They're like in a tug of war between the vibe. We're like fighting for the vibe of the record.
Yeah.
I'm so tired is literally just about him being tired.
Right.
Like he was in India, he was tired. And he wrote a song about being tired, probably was on heroin. Oh, no, not in India. In India, they didn't take any drugs, supposedly.
Mm-hmm.
But that also might have been why he was tired.
Yeah, I'm sure.
His body was just fatigued as he didn't have no drugs going through him.
Perhaps going through withdrawals.
This is one of the songs that aided a lot of people in the conspiracy theory that John is dead conspiracy theory. Do you guys know much about it?
Paul is dead. Yeah.
Do you know much about it, Michael?
Which part?
Just like I love the Paul is dead conspiracy theory. I never believed in it, but I was obsessed with the people who believed in it.
Oh, is this the one with the thing at the end, right? Where there's like mumbling at the end?
In this track, I guess is one of the ones that if you play backwards, it says Paul is dead man. I miss him or something like that.
At the end, there's like a little...
This is going off of the idea that Paul McCartney has been replaced by a doppelganger.
Right. Yeah, they said that he was in a car accident because they make allusions to car accidents in some of their tracks, and that they found an actor who looked just like him but who was taller. That's why he's barefoot on the Abbey Road album. And replaced him around
that, like,
the time
somehow had the exact same musical talent.
They said that it happened during Sgt. Pepper.
Right. And that's also why within the album there's like some symbol or symbology on the cover that indicates some...
I think that like...
Well, they were saying that the doppelganger was a military man. That's why they made it Sgt. Pepper.
I think people were probably at that time, the shift was so dramatic and still like difficult to wrap my mind around that the band who made I Want to Hold Your Hand like 2 years later made Sgt. Pepper.
Yeah.
That people, it was just like all of a sudden they became a new band. They became new people. That like, how do you go from that level of like pop music making, like cookie cutter? They wasn't cookie cutter, but like, you know, pretty mainstream pop music, to suddenly like taking on this entire new persona and making music that had like never been heard before. I think people were like, it's got to be different people.
We were kind of talking about that the last time when we did karaoke.
Yeah.
And we were talking about Panic at the Disco, obviously not to the same degree, but how their albums like sound so different. Like 9 in the Afternoon, the album that's
pretty odd.
From,
that's off of,
right. Like
the first album is like a long sentence or something.
Anyway,
yeah,
how it's like very interesting when a band can suddenly be like, oh no, now we have a completely different sound.
Well, and especially like in the case of the Beatles, where it was not just a completely different sound for them, but it was like they invented. Like every song off of Sgt. Pepper was just like nothing that had come before.
Right.
Yeah.
They just suddenly made like entirely new music and out of nowhere. And I think people were struggling to explain why and how, and like culture as a whole was making this like dramatic and like swift shift in a different direction. And
it makes sense that people would feel like there are larger like forces like the Illuminati or something that's like controlling something that seems so chaotic and like and it was violent is not necessarily the correct word, but like it can't be overstated how differently the culture shift was during this time.
Mm-hmm.
On like a larger scale in a way that I don't know could necessarily happen today, because we just have information all the time. We're learning new things all the time. So it feels like smaller cuts.
Yeah. So how would we sort it? So tired. It's just about being tired. It's very honest, like regular song about being tired.
But it's not as aggressive.
No.
I would probably, this might be the first one of John's that I would put into maybe Gryffindor, because Gryffindors can also be like, because it just like, I don't know much about the actual storyline of Harry Potter, but I do know that like Harry Potter is sometimes like, I can't fucking do this.
Yeah.
This is a lot for me.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's just extremely honest. And Gryffindor, I feel like I'm almost putting it in Gryffindor in the same way that you might just kind of like drop something in Hufflepuff if you don't know what to do with it. This is like, it's not like a happy song, so you can't drop it in Hufflepuff.
I just feel like a Hufflepuff would probably try to like make the best out of things.
Right.
Wouldn't
I'm
complain
not tired,
about.
I'm good. I'm fine.
But a Gryffindor would be like, I've been doing my best, guys. I'm tired.
There's the part of me that feels like you could make the argument for Ravenclaw, just as it is like sort of an analysis of like, we're just running a diagnostic on myself of like, I'm so tired. I can't sleep. Why is this? These are some of the things that are like, you know, plaguing me.
Oh, that's interesting.
I think I might go with Ravenclaw. I think you may have convinced me.
Yeah, that was a very good
that
argument.
Like the line, you know, I can't sleep. I can't stop my brain.
Oh,
like,
yeah. I'm sure Ravenclaws are like, I can't stop my brain. It just goes.
Yeah.
Done. Sorted.
Yeah. Good
Great.
job, Michael.
I feel great on
that. Is that our first Ravenclaw sorting?
It is our first Ravenclaw.
It's our first Ravenclaw. But now we're getting into Blackbird.
Ooh. This is the first real social commentary one on the album. So in England, I don't know about now, but definitely then, especially in the North, a bird was a girl.
Yep.
And this was his or Paul's commentary on like the situation, the civil rights movement was going on, or had just like gone through like a huge turn in America. Blackbird singing in the dead of night, take these broken wings and learn to fly. He was seeing like opportunity for the first time for like a whole group of people that had been oppressed for a long time, but also acknowledging that like your wings are still currently broken. There's a long way to go. So it was like a optimistic, like positive look, but filtered through like a little bit of like, wait, there's a little sadness in there because of history.
Melancholy of being like a lot of unnecessary brutalities happening.
Yeah. And it's, you were only waiting for this moment to be free.
Now this reminded me, and we can talk about it a lot more in detail on the next track. And keep in mind, this should have no bearing on the way that we sort the songs themselves.
Okay.
But this reminds me that the White Album directly inspired Charles Manson and his family to carry out their murders. Did you know this?
Yep.
No, I had no idea.
Oh, we're going to get into that.
Now, the thing,
he thought it was for him.
He thought he thought that this was directly recorded for them and sent to them as a message about what they thought was going to be a race revolution, of the black people of the world rising up and killing the white man. And they were like, Charles Manson was a white supremacist if there ever was one. And so he took this song Blackbird to be a direct call to people of color.
Oh man.
I gotta
that's always the way it goes with those unhinged individuals
who think it's for them.
They assume that the message is for them.
Right.
They're channeling it and they're like, oh, I've got a personal relationship with them because for some bizarro world reason, Paul and John wrote this one to let me know.
Right.
So
and I'm not sure if they ever even met Charles Manson. I know the Beach Boys were hanging out with Charles Manson, but I don't know if the Beatles had ever met him.
I don't think he ever met them.
Yeah.
If I'm remembering correctly.
Charles was kind of glomming on to the whole scene.
Mm-hmm.
But I would argue we shouldn't let that affect our sorting.
No, like I said, this is just a fun riff, I say.
Fun fact.
Fun fact. Did you know
Charles Manson thought there was a race war and he started killing people?
I love this song. I think it's a Gryffindor.
Yeah.
What an important thing to say at that time.
Agreed.
Like to tell young white people you need to respect black people.
Yeah. It's like and it up until that point they had kind of tried to avoid being political, and I think that at this he finally was like, no, it's time. There's a few songs on this album where they're finally like, it's time to actually start voicing our real opinions on things. Mm-hmm. It's a Gryffindor.
It's a Gryffindor. Then we have Piggies.
Yeah, this was George's political song on the album. Mm-hmm. Just like a sort of anti-capitalist, pretty straightforward. Fat cats suck.
Yeah, no, and it's very aggressive, very anti-capitalist. So this is where the actual murders came from. Mm-hmm. Is from this track. Charles Manson and his family were communists. They were anti-capitalist. They wanted the redistribution of wealth to happen. Mm-hmm. And when they carried out their murders, what they wrote, in order to confuse the police and make them think that this was race motivated, that this was black people coming into the houses and killing these people, they wrote Piggies or Pig on the wall. They wrote Piggies, the name of this song. Yeah. They cited as the instructions from the Beatles to murder rich people.
Yeah. Which was weird. There's like something a little strange about those murders too, because it wasn't even the people. They showed up at what's his face, Roman Polanski's.
It was Roman Polanski and Sharon Tate's house,
and they were trying to kill someone else, right? It was like
It was a producer,
but it was supposed to be. It was someone else who had slighted.
Yes.
Charles Manson.
It was a music producer in Los Angeles. Yeah. It was his house.
But Roman Polanski ended up buying the house and they didn't realize that it was him.
The dude was so creeped out by Manson, he actually moved out secretly. Yeah. And then Polanski and Sharon Tate moved in and they didn't warn them about Manson. And so Manson just told them to go, his followers to go to this house and kill everybody who was in it.
Yeah. So it wasn't even the right people, but he was just like, you know what? Fuck it.
Because Charles Manson also thought he was as good or a better musician than the Beatles, and go listen to some of his music to realize how laughable that is.
Although he does have one really good song called Look at Your Game, Girl, but it's also really creepy. And he wrote one of the Beach Boys songs. Yeah. But he tried to kill them afterwards.
I will say though, he ripped off every like all of his like well-known songs, he just ripped off from.
He was just like a hipster.
There's one song that is straight up just the one of the choruses from the Moody Blues is like one of his better. Like he just like composed that, but that's besides the point. Yeah, he thought he was going to be a world famous musician, and he just had to get to the Beatles for them. So he tried to record this album. The producer said no. A weird, tense relationship happened between them, and that's what led up to all of the murders that happened.
Charles Manson is kind of like this like extreme version of sort of the souring of the LA dream.
It definitely is.
Like he was sort of just like a disgruntled hipster who thought that you know, just by hanging out with all these people that like that you just got to show up and you'll get famous, and it just didn't work out for him.
Things went crazy.
Well, I think the seed of craziness might have been there.
And for sure.
Yeah, you got to have something to.
This just unfortunately was the tipping point, and there's the part of me that is terrified had he become an even bigger thing prior to that tipping point, things could have been even worse.
Yeah, because there was a deep sense of cynicism that was like it was bubbling up at the surface with all of the youth culture, and you even see some of the reflections of it in this music,
right?
This is a deeply cynical album, and I feel like even besides their own personal things that are going on, this was like a lot of this tension was radiating out of like the larger cultural feel, just everything that was going on.
So Piggies, do we feel for the same reason of the sort of political slant that it is a Gryffindor?
I think it's Slytherin.
Think it's a Slytherin?
I think because it's so cynical.
This one is more cynical and damning. That's right.
Yeah, in their eyes, there's something lacking. What they need is a damn good whacking.
I don't know. It's like, as from an ideology sort of standpoint, Slytherins would never be anti-capitalist.
This is true.
Ooh,
like a Slytherin would never have a problem with somebody accumulating wealth and having their power status come from anything that gives you power status. This is like
maybe it's a Gryffindor on like an angsty day.
No, because you have to remember, a Gryffindor can be a dick. They can be an asshole.
Harry
and they can be selfish.
Harry is the perfect dick.
But this is Harrison saying, this is Harrison being aggressive and saying, this is ruining society.
Right.
And so, like I said before, it's either the personal selfishness or the selfishness for the greater good. He's saying this is bad for everybody.
Well, that's true. Yeah, it's not like John with some of his songs where he's just like, ugh, this guy sucks.
Well,
exactly.
and he's being more Slytherin. A little bit playful about it in the way that it's presented.
Yeah,
like the music, like it's not.
It's like Baroque.
Yeah, it's got like a jaunty feel to it. So as a child, like you're listening to it, and it's not.
I thought it was about pigs,
right? But like only until the end, when you're like clutching forks and knives to eat their bacon, you're like, that's fucked up. Why are pigs eating bacon?
I think Gryffindor is gonna be a lot more manipulative than we give them credit for. I think this is a Gryffindor
Both the
song.
George songs so far have been Gryffindors.
Now we have Rocky Raccoon, which is another tale of just like a dude trying to do something, getting swatted down. Like, Rocky Raccoon is such a funny, doofy story.
Paul is just not afraid to like go all in on like a pastiche. Like he'll just like take a style of music and try to do it.
Yeah. This song was completed in one session.
Whoa, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And because they didn't feel like it was worth the effort. Like they don't like the song, the Beatles, as far as I remember. And like, it was like considered one of the filler songs.
Yeah.
Since it was, they were like, we're doing a double album. We got to have enough for 2 albums.
This song is a song that every time there's some sort of like a jam session that I end up at, or everyone always wants to sing this song.
I feel like I have a theory about this. It's because it's one of the less liked songs. So it's sort of putting your dick on the table and saying, I know a lot about the Beatles. I like Rocky Raccoon. And I'm like, calm down.
It's an easy song to sing to. And it's like a little fun story. I love the Beatles. I don't care for this song.
No, there's nothing wildly remarkable about it other than like a kind of funny narrative that he shows up to try to show someone what for and is immediately
he just
gets
ruined.
Yeah. And then the doctor's like, hey, you fucked up. And he's like, no, I'm gonna do it. And then he leaves.
Yeah. Everything goes wrong from the doctor. The doctor is drunk. Can't help him. It's like a goofy, sad story.
Is it a Hufflepuff?
I think it's a Hufflepuff.
Yeah,
it feels very good. It's like a sad story, but it's told in like a Rocky.
Yeah, Hufflepuff for sure.
I had a little raccoon stuffed animal that was my favorite plush when I was a little kid, and he was definitely named Rocky.
Gotcha.
Even though I didn't like the song.
Not Ranger Rick.
No, but I did get Ranger Rick magazine.
That's
for damn sure.
Right.
I don't remember what was in it, but I remember the logo.
Just letting you know that you should care about the environment and
okay.
I
ended up caring about the environment. I wonder if it was partly due to Ranger Rick.
Or what was that?
They were not friends.
It was
like a John and Paul
sort
thing.
Of publication that definitely, I think it might have been through like Boy Scouts or Cub Scouts of America.
Do you think it's
Am
still,
I crazy?
Do you think it's still in print?
Ranger Rick?
No way, right?
I mean, I can check, but we'll move on to Don't Pass Me By.
Oh my God. This song is Ringo's first attempt on the album at a song.
Yeah.
and it's really, really good. He was like, I'm going to make a country song.
I love Ringo Starr so much. He's such a fucking goof.
He's so cute. He's just such a cute man, cute, good-natured guy. This song is just absolutely a Hufflepuff through and through.
Oh,
it's
yeah,
so
for
happy.
sure.
It's like he's like making a country song, but he doesn't really know that much about country music. So it's just kind of this like mishmash of like noise and fiddles. and it's like a very
weird hodgepodge.
Plain love song. It's just kind of like this it's just like really kind of rudimentary and like almost like I don't know, it's like a primal country song or something.
So Ranger Rick does exist.
It's still
great.
At least as far as I can tell. And
is it an e-zine?
There's, well, that I don't know, but there are 10 per year. It started back in January of 1967.
Whoa.
And it's a result of the National Wildlife Federation. So it's not Boy Scouts or like NPCA or anything like that.
So it's like propaganda.
A little bit. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely, I think it kind of has the same, like, we're going to focus on like certain animals and teach you about whatever. But yeah, Ranger Rick.
Well, good.
I loved it. I feel like I mean, I definitely grew up with a healthy sense of caring for the environment, and maybe it was all Ranger Rick.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was Rocky Raccoon.
So Hufflepuff for Don't Pass Me By.
Yup.
Then Why Don't We Do It in the Road? Similar to Wild Honey Pie in, at least for me, of the fact that it is...
Well, at least there was a real idea there, and the idea was like, monkeys fuck in the road. So, like, we're kind of monkeys, right?
This is at least evolving one step in that it's not just Why Don't We Do It in the Road said a bunch of times. There are a few other lyrics that are peppered in there.
This is Paul. This is like... Like Paul was always kind of like the less subversive one.
Yeah.
And I think this is Paul's attempt to make a subversive song, but it's like done in the most Paul way. In that it's just like, I don't know. It's such a innocent view of something so explicit.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. No one's going to be around.
Some fun gossips. Spill some tea on
Hot
this
goss?
one. John Lennon, I thought this was a John Lennon song, like when I was younger.
Yeah.
Because of the way, like you were saying, John Lennon was actually left off of this one. He was not asked to play on it. And he was pissed about it.
Really?
Yeah, he was mad. Like,
he like wanted to be a part of this song.
Yeah, and
he loved doing it in the road.
Because Paul McCartney, I guess, had been left off of a recording for some other song, maybe not even on this album. No. But yeah, this is one of the ones where Paul McCartney was like, "Fuck you, I don't need you."
Wow.
Yeah,
John,
and to do one that sounds like him.
Yoko and I are the only ones who have actually done it in the road. What the hell, man?
Yeah. This song feels like a Hufflepuff trying to say something subversive. So I'd make this a Hufflepuff
this is
song.
like a guy. This is like like a kid being like, "Yeah, I've had sex."
Yeah. It's got some stupid
I've
innocence
done some crazy
to
shit.
it. Like that's trying to be a little more edgy.
Yeah, I'm
really
kinky, man. I've done some shit.
So jumping on to I Will.
Just a pure Paul love song, I think, right?
Yeah,
like,
I think this one like pretty easily goes to Gryffindor.
Oh, for sure.
Sweet little tune, but like good natured.
It's got some very nice harmonies, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, it's a beautiful tune.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful Paul tune. Not much more to say about it.
Jumping on to Julia, the final song on side 2.
Yes. Now this is a rare John love song, but about his mother, which is interesting because like less than 2 years later, he released this album, the first album with the Plastic Ono Band, called Plastic Ono Band. And the lead song on that is called Mother. Have either of you guys ever heard this song?
I am not as I don't know as much about John's post Beatles career.
Okay, so Julia is like this kind of nice sweet song about his mother,
right?
Which is great, but his relationship with his mother is like clearly pretty complex because less than 2 years later he releases Mother, and the first lines of that song. So Julia is what name some lines from that song? This some like sweet.
Half of what I say is meaningless, but I say it just to reach you, Julia. Ocean Child calls me, so I sing a song of love. Julia, seashell eyes, windy smile calls me.
So it does seem pretty distant.
Yeah. Well,
it's like he's like longing, but he's romanticizing this relationship.
Moon, touch
with his
me, and mourning is like mourning, not I'm mourning a dead person.
But that's probably like a double entendre.
There's
Sleeping sand, silent cloud. It's very like whimsical and floaty.
2 years later, he writes "Mother." Sorry, what are you going to say?
The allusions to Ocean Child's Yoko Ono, but also like they came from like he probably saw a lot of what he liked in Yoko Ono in his mother. I've only heard like they had like not too dissimilar of personalities, and he and his mom came from like a fishing.
Liverpool was like a port town.
Yeah. So that would make sense that like all of these allusions, it's just all like being like, I can write as many songs that people consider genius as possible, but I can't write a song that you can ever hear. It's
like it's a very sweet song, but all the ocean illusions kind of make her seem in like shrouded in like a mist.
She's ethereal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then 2 years later, or less than 2 years later, he writes Mother, which opens his first solo album. And the first line is, "Mother, you had me, but I didn't have you." So he digs in, and the end of that song, I'll have to play it for you guys at some point. The end of that song is literally him screaming over and over again, "Mama, don't go, Daddy, come home. Mama, don't go, Daddy, come home." And so it seems like Julia is his first attempt at like trying to address his relationship with his mother. And it seems like he's longing for it to be like a beautiful thing, but it's still very misty. Well, and then the mist clears and he's like, "Oh my God."
Well, I think that's, I think he is recognizing that like she's something that he doesn't have. So she is like she's a little angelic. She's sun shimmering through her hair. I think
death always, especially if it's a death that happens when you're a child and you have all of these years to disconnect what the actual relationship was. In the same way that we probably romanticize John now, they become larger than life. Yeah. And so like for someone as famous as he is, what's going to be something that escapes him, that's going through his fingers, no matter what he tries, it's going to be his relationship with his mom, because that was taken away from him. He had no power over it.
Right.
And he seems like someone who had trouble when he was not in control of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very it is an extremely like private sort of going into himself song, which I feel like, as far as being like the most removed from other people, I might say it's Ravenclaw, but it's also not really very like practical or like direct in any way.
It's definitely not a cerebral or rational examination of his relationship. So I'm going to say Gryffindor.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. Explain yourself.
Well, because like, I don't know, this one, I mean, not to get too dorky about it, but like Harry Potter had a bit like Harry Potter, a lot of the reason why he ended up in Gryffindor was the chip on his shoulder of wanting to have a relationship with his parents he's never going to get.
Ooh!
Yeah, well, he wanted not only a relationship with his parents, he wanted family, like point blank.
Harry is a John, 100%.
Oh, for real, yeah.
That dude is riddled with issues.
And Ron's Ringo. Ron's Ringo. Hermione is probably George.
Hermione's George.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. And with that, we have sorted the sides 1 and 2 of the Beatles' White Album.
See you next time.
I would like to thank you, Derek, for joining us on this episode. We'll be back for a part 2 where we're dealing with sides 3 and 4 of the White Album. There are less tracks, so we'll hopefully get through it a little bit quicker, but we'll probably divert course a few times for some stories and history.
It's just going to be straight song shot. Title. House.
Great.
Yeah. It's going to be a 15-minute episode.
Derek, where can we find more of you on the internet?
Oh, man. There's so few places. But there's, I got all the regular stuff, the Instagram, the Twitter, and it's just my name. It was really not a great creative choice, but it's Derek, Derek, S. Heath, Heath. That's my handle on everything. And I'm also in a band called the Regal Peaches. and just, type that into Spotify or YouTube or iTunes or whatever the hell you want to do. And it's all over the place.
The man has a musical gift. So
I'm a genius. It's the best music you'll ever hear, and it's better than the Beatles.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
Bold claims. You can follow me at Belated Media on Twitter. You can follow Reed at
that Katie Reed. I'm transitioning, guys. A big shift's about to happen. It's going to change culture, as everyone knows it. And me changing my name. So look forward to that.
Reed is a rad name.
Hopefully I don't inspire any communes to murder celebrities with it, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Right.
You're going to see Reed written in blood on the wall of...
I hate blood.
Maybe it'll be in chocolate.
Oh, that's better.
Yeah, they use that to be blood in like old movies, right?
Yeah, in Psycho and things like that.
But yeah, for right now, it's that Katie Reed for my social media handles as I figure out my identity. It's fun.
Also, if y'all would be so kind to give us a review on iTunes or Google Play, those reviews are very helpful for us. So
yeah, let us know anything, like if we got anything wrong, like factually or subjectively. If you're like, that is not what Rocky Raccoon was about.
And Beatles geeks, they'll tell you.
Send all those notes to us at sortinghatpodcast@gmail.com, and we will see y'all in another episode of the Sorting Hat Podcast. Bye.
Bye.